Hi, Jeremy here. I'm an acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist. Now, this message is for my colleagues, other acupuncturists, other Chinese medicine practitioners. There are two disturbing trends happening in our profession right now that I believe is stopping us from meeting our potential in terms of our medicine. There's so much under the surface of Eastern medicine, and with these two, I'm going to get into them in just a sec, don't worry, these two disturbing patterns that I'm observing amongst our colleagues, we need to be aware of this so that we can steer our medicine into the future where it belongs, because the people need us. They really do. So here they come, okay? Number one, we're going to start with the kind of softer one, and then we'll peel the Band-Aid off at the end, I suppose. But number one is that there's a reluctance to move online with Chinese medicine practitioners. Meaning, Jeremy, I'm an acupuncturist. How am I supposed to do that virtually? How am I supposed to do acupuncture over Zoom? I get it. I was the same way. Okay, I had a lot of the same kind of conflict inside where I really wanted to start leveraging the internet and make online programs and be able to help people anywhere in the world and develop an international practice base, which I have done, by the way. It's lovely, but I always wanted to do that. And at the same time, I was constrained by my own thinking around how am I going to do acupuncture right, over Zoom? Well, the reality is I had underestimated herbs at that point. And, you know, that's not the fault of my schooling or my teachers or anything. I think it's just the matter that acupuncture is a little easier to understand. At first, it's a little more tangible for most. And I think I fell into that camp. And I think a lot of our colleagues fall into that same camp too, where we tend to underestimate herbs. And what that means is we start to view every problem with the lens that it's an acupuncture problem, right? And the other thing is that herbs can be incredibly complex, and without the right diagnostic algorithms, without the right mapping, without the right order of operations, it's really easy to get lost in the weeds. You know, you pull out the Bensky or Chen or the herbal, you know, they're like this big, they're huge. How are you supposed to keep all that straight, right? So what I found was actually the overwhelm of herbal medicine was kind of paralyzing me from really maximizing it. Once I did that, that opened up the whole online thing, right? Because now with herbs, I can help anybody with a mailbox. You know, anybody with an address can receive a package of herbs. It's great. We also have other types of ways to interact, like nutritional education, Qigong, breath work, self-care practices, acupressure. There's so much stuff you can teach people that can make such a huge impact in their life that I was surprised that I hadn't thought of this, you know, until a few years back when I started putting things together and getting more comfortable with herbs and more of these other practices and not leaning on needles so heavily, right? So if you're struggling to kind of wrap your head around that, what I would offer is to try to just think outside the box a little bit in your practice and go, okay, what can I do if I didn't have any acupuncture? What would I do for this person? And then how much of that can translate into a virtual interaction? Because that's not just good for you, right? Because now you get to have this kind of virtual network and you can develop some location freedom. It's also good for the patients too, because now they don't have to drive to appointments, right? If you can start to transition some folks, it helps if you specialize, right? At least for your online. You can keep a brick and mortar that's like a general practice where you just do Eastern medicine. But if you specialize, at least online, got low-hanging flowers here, then you have an opportunity to really go deep into a niche of people. And that also makes it so that you need less herbs to keep track of, right? Because certain populations tend to get certain conditions. You get the herbs that are good for those populations, and now you're not getting analysis paralysis. You're creating a program that has logic and cohesion behind it, and you're developing clinical clarity. Okay, so that's one thing, is to just let yourself be free in your thinking, get out from under the needle. And now the second thing, right, and this is going to be more touchy, I know, I'll be delicate, is that a lot of folks in our profession are jumping on the functional medicine bandwagon, okay? Now this is not a bad thing in and of itself. Personally, I love functional medicine. I think it's fantastic, right? I think the name of it's hilarious, as an aside. It's kind of like implying all other medicine is dysfunctional, right? It's kind of a funny little way they packed some information into that. But in general, I love it. However, your reasons for jumping into functional medicine need to be examined, okay? And you're going to do yourself a massive disservice if you don't stop and think about this. Is it for confidence, right? Is it because they have numbers, right? People want numbers. I want to do quantities because then I can hide behind the false certainty of a lab test, right? Are you masking a deficiency there? Are you thinking that people don't search out Chinese medicine, they only search out functional medicine, so you need to learn that so you can have a successful practice, right? Some people learn functional medicine with the intention that they'll advertise that and then be able to start to introduce people to Chinese medicine as well, right? So you want to start to examine your reasons if you're reaching out for functional medicine. It's always good to learn new things, right? And this isn't a poo-poo on functional medicine, but what this is a reality check and a sober up for people in Eastern medicine that feel the need, like they have a huge gap that they need to fill with functional medicine. Because what I'm going to tell you is that if you feel that need, if you feel that deficiency, right, that's because you don't understand your medicine enough yet. And it's not your fault. There is a depth to Eastern medicine. It's the original functional medicine, right? If you're going on that route, seminar after seminar, looking at the tiniest biomarkers in a never-ending quest for the holy grail of micro-certainty, then I'm here to tell you need to zoom back out, because it's all in Eastern medicine. You have all the principles, you've got all the physiological relationships, you've got systems thinking, you've got processes, you have everything in there. If you haven't had somebody hold your hand and unpack this with you, then of course you haven't seen it, right? This is something I've had to develop. I've had excellent teachers, outstanding mentors, right? And I paid very, very close attention. And I just destroyed everything they told me and put it all back together again. And it holds weight. It's sound. It's flexible. It's versatile. There's a depth to our medicine that I would encourage you to explore. So if you're thinking about straying, right, leaving the nest, going to functional medicine, just know that you haven't gone deep enough yet into Eastern medicine. And these are the kinds of things where, I'm not done learning, of course, right? I'm always learning, but I've got a significant head start, and I'm happy to share that with you to try to reignite some of the passion, right? Whatever led you to Eastern medicine in the first place, it's there. So if you're going there for a perceived skill gap, trying to learn functional medicine, you need to stay closer to home first. There's a big difference between having a Chinese medical understanding and a framework, and then learning functional medicine and weaving it in between, versus having functional medicine be the foundation of your diagnostic house. Whole different deal. And I don't want you to miss out. Okay, because then when you do it that way, when you do learn the little microbiological details, it just makes what you've already built all that more interesting, right? But we're not relying on it. We're relying on functional systems that work and are very, very old, right? There's something to be said for medical treatments withstanding the test of time, right? So we want to balance that. We want to leverage that. Anyway, these are the kinds of conversations we're having in our group. It's called the Damn Good Doctors Club. It's not just for Eastern medicine practitioners. You may meet some functional medicine folks in there. You may meet chiropractors, MDs, DOs, RNs, anybody, right? Anybody that's a healthcare professional with some form of alphabet soup after their name. It's a great group, very positive. We're international. Don't take the piss, right? Get in there, be polite, be professional, and there's a lot you can learn. It's free to join the group. I have programs, of course, I have mentorships. That's not cheap. I value my time, I value my attention. But in the meantime, you may as well join our group for free. It's no cost. You get to be a guest, come in there, ask me anything you want, go through our training vaults, start to get your system sorted out, start to implement some changes in your practice, start to see Eastern medicine from a different light. How exciting. All right, you'll find the application, and when I see it, I'll take a look, and I'll get you in as soon as I can. Might be a month, might be sooner. All right, cheers.